Barnstable This Morning, just about 8 minutes past the top of the hour on this Monday morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and live in studio, Tom Lynch, Town Manager. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing well, thanks, Tom. How are you?
Did you weather the storm well?
I did. I left the house only once to go to the grocery store, and then pretty much hunkered down inside. Even my dogs didn't want to go outside.
Well, it was a good day to watch football, and as you've already reported, those of us that get into the build-up beforehand, the Manning-Brady matchup, I mean, it all came out our way. So
It
felt very good yesterday afternoon.
We like seeing the Patriots play so well. It's nice to have Rob Gronkowski back on the field, that's for sure.
But we did have the nor'easter to contend with all afternoon.
We did indeed.
And Saturday night it was blowing pretty hard, and of course the rains came in, and we had snow, as you noted. I was just kind of thinking, oh no, it's way too early for that. But the chief called me at one point during the storm to report that we had about a dozen roads that we were monitoring or had closed, and there were a couple where Craigville Beach Road, if you came down, there was a police officer to stop you because there was some flooding there. There was also a down pole in the Winter Street area, and that's what accounted for quite a bit of the power outage in the Hyannis area. But NSTAR was on scene and fixing that. Naturally, we have very close working relationships with all the utilities, and when we go into a storm like this, we go into storm mode, and that kicks in. Dan Santos and I naturally talked quite a bit during the day. Folks do know that we had canceled closed the transfer station. Generally, when the winds get beyond 30 miles an hour, we shut it down anyway because of blowing debris and danger to and for patrons who may be coming there.
Sure.
So we're sorry for the inconvenience, but it's really a safety issue. And there was some damage out there in terms of some doors being blown off, in a certain storage area. But again, folks called in. We called in our tree crews. Folks called in issues. I had one right down the street from me where a tree was blocking half the road on Finney's Lane, and called it in, went out to check some other parts of town, came back, was all taken care of. So the crews were right out there on top of those issues. I think one thing that compounded the flooding, because I saw some flooding in areas I don't normally see it, all the leaves that were down in the drains, and,
yep.
and it's very hard to keep up with that. And so on the well-traveled areas, we tried to get out and clean that and make sure that the roads were passable. But you saw the pictures from Sandy Neck. We
yes.
had quite a bit of erosion out there. It's beautiful to watch, but we do have consequences to the storm. So we were in the process anyway of appropriating additional dollars to build up the sand dune there again. And in last year's budget, the town council approved monies we had suggested to try to get a long-term permanent solution out there. So we're investigating that right now to try to figure ways to combat Mother Nature. It's not easy. But, so.
Definitely not easy. So I'm sure we'll check in with Nita Coleman about a little bit and take a look at what's going on out there at Sandy Neck and see. But good to know that it was, relatively mild, a good, start into the storm season, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't have to deal with much more of these until it's summertime again.
Well, and then I wanted to mention that last Thursday, I had an opportunity to join with others going out to the Kennedy compound, to the Ambassador Joseph P. Kennedy's home, more recently Ted Kennedy's home, for an informational session. One of the aspects to this job is that I also deal with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of other agencies that do business in our town that want to keep us up to date on projects that they're thinking of, as well as we may be involved with them because of infrastructure needs. In the case of the JFK Museum Foundation, we actually lease the building to them, so we actually own that building. And John Allen, the executive director, had a group together out at the ambassador's house, which is very historic and interesting to be in the first place. Not an ostentatious property when you look at many of the properties we have around town, but certainly one that has had its place in history. And there are a lot of original photographs left in the home. the famous table that the family sat around to have the dinners where the kids were questioned and around world affairs and other major issues. But the major thrust of the meeting was to talk about renovation plans that the foundation has at the JFK Museum, the new town hall on Main Street. Also, they had the architect who talked about that. Then they had the individual that's redesigning the museum, and they want to have a much more interactive and fluid presentation of the materials that they have. So those two individuals spoke, and they have about a 3-year timeline to raise money and begin this project. A woman representing the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the Senate made a presentation, and they are willing to lend artifacts and other memorabilia from the JFK Museum Library as well as the Institute to our museum. But it needs to be, the security needs to be in place. There needs to be certain dehumidification and other things put in place so that they can house and keep these artifacts safely. So, but she talked about the EMK Institute and that coming up, and we've got to get our schools involved quickly in this. They've created basically a replica of the Senate, and they've already had school children coming in. It's an educational process, and it's all tablet driven. Students come in, they have a tablet, they're assigned an issue, and probably they've already been studying somewhat in class and come in, they're assigned the seat of a senator. So if the issue is taking place in 1870, they get the name of a senator who was there in 1870. They debate the issue for a while, go in and caucus, come back from caucuses, actually take votes on it and cast a vote on the issue. So it sounded wonderfully interactive and just really going to be a real boon, I think, to that whole complex up there at the library.
Absolutely.
So it's exciting that our museum down here, which really talks about life outside of the presidential arena, but those things that happened that related to the administration while he was vacationing and somewhere down here is, of course, all very relevant and important to us. And our museum gets close to 65,000 visitors a year, so it's a major attraction. They want to be part of the economic driver on Main Street, and we want to certainly help them thrive and be an important attraction there on the street.
Absolutely, and really, as you say, so many people visit that museum. It'll be amazing to see what they can do to improve it and perhaps attract more visitors, and it really is kind of a touchstone for Main Street. And Main Street itself has gone under such a great renovation and revitalization, so many things to do, so to have that as an additional draw, or even more so of a draw.
And the challenge all museums have is to bring people back. You can tour a museum, think, well, I've done that. And with today's interactive exhibits and the ability to tap a wide variety of information that's out there, I think that they want to move into that arena. They've done a wonderful job of having a signature exhibit each year, and that has brought people back, but they want to even improve on that.
Absolutely. And tomorrow, of course, the big day, election day, midterm elections taking place all across the country. Yeah, big day.
Some of us may have a little election fatigue.
I think so, yeah.
Watching, the ads on TV, some of the calls we get at home, but it's all in an effort to, have those individuals that are running, try to get their name out there, try to let you know what they stand for, and we naturally can make our choices tomorrow as to who we'd like to have representing us from the top of the ballot all the way to the bottom of the ballot. So, and there are races all the way through, and I would encourage voters to stick with it right to the end. I'm going to write down the ways I want to vote on the ballot questions before I go in.
Yes.
Getting in and try to reading them on the spot. We have the information booklet that the Secretary of State has sent out, so I'll have my yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, however I'm going down on those, and so I can move through quickly. But it's always an exciting day, and we wish all the candidates good luck, and thank you for getting out there and putting your name on the ballot and sharing your ideas with us about things you want to do to make our area a better area to live in.
Wonderful. Well, Tom, I thank you so much, as always, for joining us here on the show, and we will catch up with you next Monday.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Tom Lynch, of course, is our town manager. More to come on Barnstable This Morning. Dr. Marichkowski, superintendent of schools, is next. But first, we'll send you out to look at the beautiful sunny morning in Kitswood. We'll be back with more Barnstable.